Welcome back in, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Glad you're with us. Alabama gets the win 27-24 up in Como. Tyler Watts joins us each and every week on the Higginbotham Hotline, a member of the radio broadcast team for the Crimson Tide Sports Network, to give us his thoughts on Alabama's performance. You were there in person. What was just first the atmosphere, the scene like in Como?
Initially, honestly, man, it was a little bit dead. They kept telling us, hey, it'll fill up as the game gets started, but it literally was kickoff before that place was packed. And with all the construction and everything they got going on right now, it doesn't see a ton of people, but it was a good little atmosphere considering the circumstances. And man, Alabama kind of let them get back in and hang around, and it got real loud there in the fourth quarter.
How would you assess the performance defensively as much as anything else? I feel like the defense played a really, really solid game, but there were some plays left on the field for Mizzou. How would you assess that group on that side of the ball?
I still think that this defense for Alabama continues to get better and better. And one of the concerns early on was just their gap integrity against the run, kind of getting out of position, guys going in the same holes, taking away the same assignments. So they seem to be getting better at that. We did have 2 or 3 busts that resulted in some gash plays where Missouri was able to pick up some big yardage running the ball. But overall, man, I mean, they're keeping everything in front of them for the most part. They're getting aggressive up there at the front. And this was a tough little task with the success that Missouri had running the football. You knew they're going to be physical and stick with it. And Alabama kind of took them out of their element there and made them play from behind. Of course, it was once again one of those games where Alabama controlled the ball. And although they were only up by a possession, it still just limited Missouri's ability to kind of get in any sort of rhythm offensively.
What were your thoughts of Bo Prabula, seeing him in person, just as an SEC quarterback?
Dude's got all kinds of talent, man. If you're playing flag football, that's who you want on your team. He's quick as a cat. He can really make guys miss and all. I thought that he wasn't comfortable having to be in obvious passing situations. And he's not a super huge guy by any means. He's not real big. I don't know how strong his arm is and his ability to push the ball down the field. He had a couple of guys I thought that had he kind of recognized him, he had wide open touchdowns on a couple busted plays. But look, I mean, he's a good athlete. I think he's a good complement to what they do, and he can give you problems if you don't kind of wrap him up and hem him up.
Where would you be on the performance of the offensive line, and knowing there's some great pass rushing teams coming up? There was a couple pressures in this game. I don't think Jam had a great day in protection. How concerned are you about that group across the board?
Anytime that you go on the road, it is a concern as far as how loud it's going to be, because we had several issues, especially on the right side of the line of scrimmage with snap count. At least that's what they claimed after a sack was made. I think it's twofold, though, man. I think that we probably need to have a little bit of help, at least chipping initially, because, yeah, I mean, you tell me, is this Missouri defensive line as good as anybody else in the conference, or are there some that are better that Alabama's going to face? Because this was by far the best one I thought we had faced from a speed standpoint, and preventing Ty from really stepping up and being able to bust containment up the middle with some of the things that we're doing on the interior. But when you go on the road like that, you got to find some options. So I don't know if it's communication at the snap of the ball, but I think Ty also sometimes has to, not every time, but I thought there was a couple of times where he could have helped his offensive line out by either stepping up, moving around in the pocket, and not being worried about, some of the pressures that were coming at him. But it's just, hey, man, hit your check now. I thought that was the biggest thing late in the second quarter and third quarter was just, man, just take the 5 yards and let's move on.
Take us through that third down completion late in the game for Ty when he hits that corner route that was just, I mean, about as perfect of a ball placement that you could ask for. Kind of what did you see pre-snap, and then just your thoughts of him being able to execute it?
Dude, on that 4th and 8, that was nuts. First of all, I'm thinking surely they're not going to go for it on 4th and 8. They're up by 3, I think, at that time, maybe, or 4. And they decided to go for it. Yeah, he had a little bit of pressure, had to buy himself some time, roll it out to his left. But when he understands what the defense is doing, man, he can dissect them. It's kind of when they start giving him a fuzzy picture, he struggles a little bit. But he knew the coverage he had. And you talk about throwing it right where it needed to be, and Latour Brooks goes up, hauls it in. There's no doubt that it was a catch, and ends up being a touchdown as a result of it. And the way that it all shook out, man, you had to have that touchdown at that point because Missouri, something they hadn't done all year, all day long. Go right down the field and score a touchdown, and they're kicking an onside kick trying to tie it up.
It was an unbelievable throw on 4th and 8. I mean, one of the better throws probably of the season for him. I mean, just could not place it more perfectly. It was well covered, well defended, and he dropped it in the bucket on a nice little slide to his left. Very, very impressive stuff. What would you say about this upcoming week? Tennessee, of course, has been a handful. I think they're good. I don't know how good. I like them a lot. But I also know that Bama at home's been a very, very tough shell to crack. So how would you assess this upcoming week's game?
I did not get a chance to watch the end of that Arkansas game to see how Arkansas was able to come back and make that a contest because it was 34-17, I think, when I turned it off and started watching you guys. But it's obviously this is one that always means something. That's what everybody's going to say and talk about. How do we stack up? I honestly have no idea. I know that they're explosive and they have some tall receivers. Our secondary's done a nice job of keeping things in front, but anytime that you have a jump ball, man, you just don't know. I mean, heck, that game you called, Cole, I saw that number 14 tight end for LSU. There wasn't anybody in the NBA that could have stopped him last Saturday night.
You're not manning him up on those routes. It's just not happening.
And that concerns me against a couple of these Tennessee receivers as well, as if they can catch some one-on-one situations. But hey, man, this is you're sitting in about as good of a spot as you could have hoped for coming into this 5-game stretch with an opportunity to now beat your rival there at home and then close it out with a road game against South Carolina. So, man, you just got to stay as healthy as you can and just keep on plugging because I don't know if everybody in the conference is pretty good. I think we're actually all capable of beating everybody. So it just really depends on how you show up and how you play that day.
All right, Tyler, we appreciate it, man. Before I let you go, I want to know what your best memory is from Alabama, Tennessee.
Well, dude, I don't have but one good memory. I got a lot of bad memories. You know what I'm talking about. A lot of bad memories, but only one good memory is going up there my senior year. And good gracious, I think they were 8-year-old cigars that we had held on just waiting because next year was our year. And finally getting to smoke those nasty things. And, dude, you know how it is post-game after a win in the locker room. There's no better feeling. And just the excitement and jubilation that all the players have. And you get to act like kids again. And that was a cool thing.
Yeah, there's no doubt. The rivalry games just mean more when you can get those wins, and they're a lot more fun to celebrate. We appreciate the time today. Great stuff. Just kind of recapping Bama's win against Mizzou. We'll talk next week.
Thanks, fellas. Y'all have a good one.
There you go. Tyler Watts on Alabama's win at Missouri. Are you a little surprised to hear about that atmosphere? GMAC, I know they got the construction and everything. I think getting into the stadium is a little bit harder for fans right now. But, man, I mean, SEC Nation's there. It's Alabama. You got a team that looks like they can actually go win that game. I would have thought that place would have been bonkers.
Yeah, I would assume. But I don't know. That's kind of. I've only been there once, so I've only done a game there one time. I've done a spring game there, but that was probably not the best environment. So I've done one game. It's hard for me to kind of sense what it was like. That was in 2015 was the last time I did a game there. So it's been a bit, and I don't know. You've been there a bunch. What do you think about the atmosphere?
I've heard it kind of flat, and I've heard it good. It gets a little louder than I think you would anticipate. It's tough because the fans, the people are removed from the field. There's a big track or whatever around the field. Then you got a little grassy hill. So there's just a lot of space between the field and the crowd. And so it's never going to be like Gainesville or Baton Rouge where it feels they're like right on top of you. Because first off, there's nobody at field level. And, even at like Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, the field level people aren't really – there's not a lot of people at field level because it's that old school bowl type. But the proximity is still not that far from the field, specifically in the end zones. So you're able to get that noise going. And, Gainesville, Baton Rouge, the fans are right there on top of you. And so they just don't have that in Como. But I've heard it get loud. I mean, I've heard it be problematic. I mean, we had Georgia up there a couple of years ago, and it was – I think Georgia had some communication issues at times. Like, it wasn't real easy for them to communicate and get things down the line of scrimmage. So it can get loud, but I don't know, maybe because it was an early kick and, they're tailgating and coming in right before kick. I don't know. I just – that's not what I anticipated hearing.
I think part of it, though, is like when you're used to Athens, when you're used to Jordan-Hare, when you're used to LSU, when you're used to A&M, when those are the standards by which you Neyland Stadium, South Carolina, Arkansas, when those are the standards that you set in your league with tough environments, the Swamp, I mean, they're all tough. Like, they're all so hard to play against. If you put Missouri in any other conference, it'd be like, oh, that's a really hostile environment. But you put in the SEC and it's like 13th as far as hostility. That's not a knock. It's just it'd be like looking at the Forbes top 100 billionaires in the world. It's not like the guy that's 14th in the world in wealth is poor. It's just he doesn't have as much as Elon Bezos and Jeffrey and Larry Ellison. Like, it's still really good. It's just not as much or as good as some of the other places that you're directly compared to.
No, I see that, and that's fair. It's not a bad environment.
No.
But, yeah, comparing any environment to Kyle Field, Tiger Stadium, your field at Ben Hill Griffin Building, I mean, that's, all of those are just incredible. So Neyland is unbelievable. So I get the comparison portion of that, but I just thought for that game, with the start that you had gotten off to and the way your team had looked, that it would have been jumping from the go, and a lot of folks would have been complimenting what it was. But I don't think Tyler's saying it was bad. I think he was just saying that it didn't start out the way that he thought it would because it's Alabama in town, and you kind of figured that would be a pretty big game. All right, we'll move on to some of the other games in the SEC, some other games in state. Bad box score of the day coming a little bit later in the show. Before we do any of that, GMAC, tell our listeners about Bromberg's.
Well, Bromberg's has been my go-to for a very long time. I absolutely love the experience that I get when I walk in the door, and now is a really good time to go over there because guess what? It's Jaliska week. Starts today. That'll go all through the week, and Jaliska is a beautiful brand, Juliska. They have pieces and classical favorites. And you can get a lot of savings this week. So if you're a bride, it's a great time to use your registry credit. If you're registered at Bromberg's, and guys, if you're looking for a gift, this is a great gift. They have the newest fall and holiday designs alongside beloved classics. So enjoy special savings for 1 week only from elegant dinnerware, linens to glassware. Jaliska brings beauty and joy to every gathering. Whether you're preparing to host for the season or looking for the perfect gift, there's no better time to add pieces to your collection at Bromberg's. Stop by Bromberg's and add some joy to your home with Jaliska.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about other SEC games from the weekend, some other in-state games, all that and more next right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning into the show. JocksFM.com is where you can listen online. Apps in your App Store, iPhone, Android. Download it for free. You can also tell your home smart speaker to enable the Jock skill, GMAC, and you can also tell our listeners about Polar Bear Services.
Well, Polar Bear Services is the one-stop shop for me. When I have something go wrong in my home, the first call I make is to Polar Bear Services. I call Wes and the guys. I say, hey, guys, what's going on? Like, can you help me out with this? The answer is almost always yes. But right now, I woke up this morning, went for a workout, 5:30 in the morning. It was 53 degrees outside, which means my heater was running last night. I didn't even know it. It's only going to go down from here. It was beautiful, don't get me wrong, but I need to make sure my whole home comfort system is up to the test. When it's running the AC during the day and the heat at night, we got to be ready to roll. That's why I'm getting Polar Bear Services out this week to make sure everything's ready to rock. System tune-up, duct cleaning, repair, new installation. They can help you with all types of electrical work as well, and they can help you with plumbing. So remember, if you have a problem with your electrical, plumbing, heater, air, just pick up the phone and call the Bear. It's 205-497-BEAR. It's 497-BEAR.
Dan Wetzel of ESPN joining us now on the Higginbotham Hotline. And Dan, we had you booked originally to talk about the Big Ten, but not a significant coaching change in the Big Ten. But since we have you here, I am interested in your thoughts on Penn State moving on from James Franklin.
Well, I think this was obviously building through the years when James Franklin, struggled against teams with equal or a little better talent and just wasn't getting those victories. And the one thing he could always point to is I didn't lose the games that I shouldn't. And he had done a great job there. He's there 11 years, so it's almost hard to remember how down things were, the Jerry Sandusky scandal and the sanctions and all that. But there had grown to be a great deal of frustration amongst the fan base and especially the donors that were funding this team, and brought in the new coordinators and all of that. And once he lost the last two to a UCLA team that was 0-4, albeit with Nico Iamaleava as the quarterback, and now they look pretty good, or a Northwestern team, which carries the burden of being Northwestern. But if you look at that team on Saturday, they're pretty good too. That's my thing about college football these days. Everyone's pretty good almost. And the good teams aren't as good, the bad teams are as bad. But this team had just looked listless except for really about a quarter and a half against Oregon this season. And it just became too much, and it had become a toxic situation. I think the boosters had lost confidence. And these days, if you don't have your boosters, you can't go back to them in November and say, hey, I need another $1 million for we got to get this kid out of the portal, or I need another $500,000, or I need this, when they're like, hey, I'm frustrated. So you can lose your backing very, very quickly. And I think that's what happened to James Franklin. Spectacular collapse considering he was in double overtime 3 weeks ago against Oregon, posting a top 5 matchup, and now he's out.
With a 7-point lead in overtime, I might add, which is even crazier when you really take everything else into account. How desirable is this job?
So I think it's still very desirable because there's a lot of players in the state of Pennsylvania, and Penn State is by far the major program. No offense to Pitt. So you have that local base. You're really centrally located into Maryland and New Jersey and all that, and they have a lot of money and a culture of football. So there's a lot going for it. But I just think in this new era of the sport, it doesn't necessarily matter as much where you are, and this is to degrees. Don't totally judge. It matters some, but if you're at a program in a major conference that can put the money together, it's just not as big of a deal. And you see Indiana as a top 5 team. You see Texas Tech possibly a top 5 team. I don't know what they came ranked in at this year. You can get things going really quick, and it's not about can I string together top 5 recruiting classes for 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 years in a row. There's only so many programs that were capable of doing that in the past. Now it's, can I hit the right guys in the portal? Do I scout better? Do I use the resources I have with money in a better way? And then am I a better in-game coach, strategy going into coach? Can I keep guys motivated the way you have to, in the NFL where you don't get too high and get too low because every week you can lose? I just think it's a different skill set. So as much as Penn State still has an awful lot going for it, it's not like, well, this is one of the 10 places you can win a national title. There's a lot of places you can win a national title or make a final now that you couldn't, honestly, in 2021 or 2019. Like, it is a fresh era of the sport.
Dan Wetzel of ESPN with us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Let's stay with the Big Ten because that's why we originally booked you to join us, and add some clarity to this potential infusion of a large sum of cash from private equity into the league. But it comes with a few differences than maybe had been talked about when the private equity conversation was first introduced. First off, where are the administrators, athletic directors, presidents on this potential idea from the Big Ten today?
Well, we're trying to find out, but it's made more movement, and just so all the finance guys driving around, it's more like a passive investment or private capital than private equity, which means a lot to them, maybe less to us. But it's been worked on for a year. It's getting closer, but there's still some hurdles, and there's still some schools that are maybe holding out. And the way the deal works is, they have a pension fund in California that would basically give the Big Ten, say, $2 billion or $2.5 billion. And the Big Ten would take all of their media rights and all their sponsorship rights and create a separate company. And that company would have 20 different shares, the 18 schools, the Big Ten office, and then the California pension fund, which deals with the university professors and is an extremely wealthy fund. They would get a 10% share of that. So technically, you're not giving up equity in, say, the Big Ten or equity in Ohio State football, which I think would probably be illegal because who owns a public football team? But it's kind of the same difference, because what's the value of a conference? What is a conference other than its media rights deals and its sponsorship for its on-field logo or its championship game, right? It's kind of the same thing. So you'd get this money now, and then they would be able to draw back off of all of the media rights through 2046, which could be not just the $1 billion a year right now that the Big Ten's getting, but the next 2 media right deals. So it's a good deal for the pension fund. A lot of groups wanted in on this. So it's basically the Big Ten saying, we're broke right now. We got too many schools that need money desperately, and we're willing to give away some of our future because we got to get this cash right now to balance the books, pay down some debt, fund the players, do things like maybe pay a coach $49 million to go away. So each school would get between $100 and maybe $180 million, depending on the size of their athletic department. It's a brand new idea. There's a lot of skepticism in the league, but there's also a lot of momentum for it.
It's going to be fascinating. And look, I've seen a lot of these private equity deals. This is a structure that makes some sense to me. It does. However, I always get a little bit concerned when you have these shares or whatnot, and all of a sudden 3 years into the deal, Ohio State's like, all right, this is bogus. We're better than, we deserve more. We want more. And then what do you do about it? So how do they get out in front of those conversations about, hey, the blue bloods, if you will, the Michigans, the Ohio States, how do you keep them happy for a length of time that's that significant? Because they just signed the Fox deal, and they're already all frustrated with when they have to play games and where they have to play games and at what time. So how are they going to make a private equity deal work?
Yeah, well, this is one of the problems. And so in this deal, an Ohio State and a Michigan will get more money than, say, a Rutgers. Right off the bat, they'll get more of the cash infusion, and they will have a little bit more equity than the others. But if you have 20 slices, everything's, one group's taking 10, and then everyone else is splitting the 90. It might be like, I'm not going to quite do the math, but let's say it's 5.5% for Ohio State and 4.5% for Rutgers. So you get a little more equity in it, trying to balance that. The Big Ten's an interesting deal. Just the Michigan, Ohio, they get $1 billion a year, right, in media rights. the Michigan-Ohio State game alone is annually by far the most watched college football game. It even usually beats the championship game. And, it'll do a 20-something rating. And that thing might be worth $200 million on its own, just that game. And then Ohio State just is a juggernaut I think it's the most popular team in the country. If you look at the ratings, they can play anybody and they put them at noon and they still get 4 million people to watch. So there's so much value in those things. And how long's it go? My issue with the Big Ten, this is why I'm skeptical. They've come up with bad ideas to try to get money and then have to come up with another bad idea to get money. They added Rutgers and Maryland because they needed Big Ten network subscriptions to basic cable bundles, right? And now they're sitting there saying, well, what did those two schools really do for our league other than that? And people are cutting the cord, that decreases. Well, we better go get UCLA and USC. Okay, now we got them. Well, that apparently hasn't. Well, let's go get Oregon and Washington and blow up the Pac-12. Okay, well, we get this new contract. Well, that's not enough money either. Now let's do this. It's like they keep opening a credit card to pay off the last credit card. And I'm not Dave Ramsey, but I can figure out that's not – this stuff doesn't seem to work. There's a whole bunch of people in suits going, no, this is what you got to do. And they've been telling me that for 20 years. And I keep going, I don't really see how this works in the long term. Maybe they're smarter than me. Maybe they're not. But it just feels that way with this. Like, okay, so who the heck knows what the sport's going to look like in 2044? Like, who knows how much the media rights are worth? Who knows what a Michigan and Ohio State might be passing up in some – you can't – you guys – we live college football, right? How's the sport going to look in 2030, let alone 2044? I don't know. How's media going to look? How is anything going to be? And so the idea that you just bank in and give away, this could be the ACC once thought they were so smart and they made a deal to 2036 and they're like, we're locked in for a long time. And within like 18 months, they had an undervalued deal and everyone was grumbling and pretty soon everyone was suing each other. Is this going to be the same deal? And so that's where I look at it. And that's where some of the hesitation is it's never been enough to balance all these books. Where's the financial conservatism or whatever, however we want to do it, from all these schools saying, okay, this is the fusion that'll get us paid out of debt, get us whole, get us going, and we can start in the middle of our conference, compete with the SEC's middle, which right now the Big Ten just isn't. They're good at the top. I think everyone would agree with that. But you get to the middle and it isn't the same.
No, there's no doubt. Where is this right now with certain ownerships via school properties? I had seen where that was a little bit of an issue in the back and forth of, what parts of individual school rights would be owned and given away, and certain administrators are pushing back on that. And I think now Tony Petitti saying that's potentially changed. Where is that part of this potential deal?
Yeah, so the negotiations go on and the plans change. So, I only know the fragmented amounts that I know. So everything could have been changed. But generally speaking, like if you're Ohio State's, radio broadcast, that's worth a lot more than Minnesota's or something like that, right? And so Ohio State would continue to have that deal. It's really more conference-wide stuff, and it's how it's been explained to me. So it's the Fox deal, it's the CBS deal, it's the NBC deal, it's our championship game. It could be stuff like, look, we can do better. Every school can put a little patch now on their logo or a advertisement on the field, right? We can actually make everybody more money if we pool it all together. And now it's a Amazon patch or a General Motors logo opposed to, Jimmy's car dealership or something like that you're getting. So there's some things that they can do to actually increase the value here. But for the most part, this goes to college athletics in general, and it's not just a Big Ten problem. It's everywhere. The colleges have spent just like drunken sailors on stuff. We go to these games, facilities, the salaries, the support staff, and not just in football where you can say, hey man, we're going to get a return on investment here, or basketball where you can maybe get a return, but all the sports. And they've just they've soared to these 250 times $270 million budgets, and they're going, man, we got to find now I got to pay $20 million to the players, or maybe 25, and I have to have more scholarships. Nobody planned ahead for I wouldn't call it a rainy day, but a change in how this works. And so now they're kind of scrambling around. And so the Big Ten's the first one, but they're not going to be the last one to look at this.
Absolutely. Dan, great stuff, man. Thanks for hopping on with us. Appreciate the time. Hopefully we can do it again soon.
Anytime, guys. Appreciate it.
There you go. Dan Wetzel discussing potential private equity coming into the Big Ten. Greg, this is about as close as a massive deal that we've seen. Dan says still a little bit ways out, but if this did happen the way that he described it, what would you think about that?
I mean, I think it'd be interesting. I just don't see how you keep everybody happy. Because I don't know why in a million years, if I were Ohio State, I'd be comfortable regardless. If my pie is split 18 ways right now, 18 ways, I don't know why I would be comfortable if I were Ohio State not having 12% or 15% of that pie. Michigan, comparable. Oregon, 10. Penn State, 10. Because frankly, the value that they bring to the league is so exorbitant compared to that of, say, a Minnesota, Purdue, or Northwestern, that I don't know how they, and I have not seen the finer details of it, but just knowing how those deals have been structured in the past and how they're looking to be structured in the future, I just don't think everybody would be pleased if we fast forward 5 years from now with the deal they might agree with right now, because they're in desperate need of a cash infusion. So once that cash is already infused and you've already spent all the money that you were given, 5 years from now, and you don't have that money anymore, you're going to be mad. Yeah. So if we're talking about deals that are 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the road, that's what concerns me. So I don't agree. I agree with private equity at the university level. I think it makes sense. I think it can help you. I think those that will be first movers in that world will have real advantages. I really believe that. If it's structured properly, if you're just doing a debt structure, that's never going to work. But if you do an equity structure where there's benefits on the back end for both sides and you get a cash infusion right now, that makes perfect sense. But that's at the individual university world. If you're doing it with a conference, I can't necessarily see how that's going to work out, because we're moving further and further away from, hey, everybody's equal because we wear the SEC patch or the Big Ten patch or the ACC patch, what have you. It's already started in the ACC. It's probably coming to the SEC at some point. I don't think it's going to come anytime soon. But I think at some point, Bama, Georgia, Texas, the teams that really move the needle, that rate on a week-to-week basis, they're probably going to want more than those that don't move the needle as much. And who can blame them? And the Big Ten's an even more exaggerated version of that. So I am not one that agrees. If you want to involve private equity on a school-by-school basis, by all means, it makes perfect sense. If you want to do it at the conference level, that's where I have a hard time with it.
And some of the balancing of that, it does make sense, because it just feels like you're asking for more of the Florida State, Clemson issues that we've seen, more so Florida State as of recent, with just revenue sharing and finances, different things of that nature. There's a reason Auburn Athletics hand-selected Andrew Sports Medicine's Dr. Benton Emblem and Charles Pitts to serve as their team physicians. They provide the highest quality of sports medicine care in an effort to keep the Tiger student-athletes safe, healthy, and competing at the highest level. If Andrew Sports Medicine is the choice for Auburn Athletics, there's no doubt they should be your family's number one choice for sports medicine and orthopedic care. Andrew Sports Medicine has 7 locations across Central Alabama, from Birmingham, Coleman, Gardendale, Hoover, Pelham, and Trussville. They offer same-day, next-day appointments for acute sports injuries. Visit andrewsportsmedicine.com today to begin your journey of achieving victory over injury. All right, we're back with more next right here on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. It is 9:41 Monday, October 13th, right here on Jocks. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Alabama gets a win over Missouri, 27-24. Auburn goes down to Georgia 20-10 over the weekend. Also, we mentioned UAB, 53-33 goes down to FAU. Trent Dilfer out as the head coach. Troy gets a win over Texas State in overtime, 48-41. Troy gets a 4-2. Tucker Kilcrease, 30 of 39, 415 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions for the Trojans. DJ Epps, 10 catches, 148 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Texas State had 2 100-yard rushers. They rushed 53 times for 326 yards, but Troy holds on for the win. Alabama A&M gets Mississippi Valley State 45-25. They're 4-3 on the season. Eric Henley, 24 of 32, 247, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. 12 different players caught a pass for Alabama A&M in this game. Alabama State over Jackson State, or goes down to Jackson State 38-34. Hornets 4-2 on the season. Jackson State 5-1. Andrew Bodie, 20 of 30, 349, a touchdown, a pick, ran 14 times for 93 yards. Alabama State actually outgained Jackson State 514 to 444. However, Jackson State outrushes the Hornets 257 to 165. So, a couple of your other in-state scores from over the weekend. This was an odd one. So, Samford was off over the weekend, and we're keeping up with West Alabama and what they've been doing because they're number 9 and they're undefeated. Greg, their last game was on September the 27th.
Yeah.
They play October the 18th against West Florida. Now, I don't know if they –
You like a double bye?
I don't know if there's a cancellation or something, had to be moved, but, you don't see the 2 consecutive weeks off in the middle of the season very often.
Pretty rare. Pretty rare occurrence there.
Needless to say, they'll be rested when
I think
they get West Florida.
I think that's a safe assumption.
At Terry Bunn Field at Tiger Stadium. So we'll see how that one goes. All right. We got Bad Box Score of the Day coming up. Still need to get to that. Obviously, going to get you there. But first, Greg, tell our listeners about Crocker Moving Services.
Well, they're a local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys. And you can trust them in your home. Whether your whole home packed up and moved, your company headquarters moved across country, or you just want them to come rearrange your living room, they got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you've purchased and need to get to your home. So call or visit them online today for a free quote. The website is crockermovementservices.com. That's crockermovementservices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Movement Services for your next move.
All right, when we come back, we will get you the best of the worst. It's the Bad Box Scores of the Day next right here on Jocks. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Get to our bad box scores of the day here in just a few moments. You guys know we bring you the best of the worst. But first, G-Mac, tell our listeners how great Bromberg's is.
Well, Bromberg's is terrific, and it's a great week to go and check them out at Bromberg's because you have Jalisco Week, which is happening starting today through the 18th. So Monday through Friday, it's a perfect time to get your home ready for fall and holiday hosting. So you can shop beautiful new Jalisco pieces and classic favorites while enjoying savings for 1 week only. Besides, it's also a great time to go and check out the newest fall and holiday designs. If you have a registry for a wedding coming up, it's a great gift. From elegant glassware to linens to dinnerware, Jalisco brings beauty and joy to every gathering. So if you're preparing to host for the season or looking for the perfect gift, there's no better time to add that timeless piece to your collection at Bromberg's. So stop by Bromberg's today and add some joy to your home with Jalisco.
All right, let's get to the best of the worst. It is our bad box score of the day.
Personal foul, 69, offense. He was giving them the business.
Intentional grounding, offense number 7. It's a 10-yard penalty. I'm talking to America here, excuse me.
That's the game.
All right, we'll get it started with the McAllister College.
They are the Mavericks.
Kevin McAllister, Home Alone.
No, the sandwiches.
That's not them. They're the Scots.
Oh,
Scots.
close.
Scott.
The odd part about it is their mascot's a bull.
A bull.
Like, maybe it's a cow. I mean, it's got. It's
How
like
can you tell the difference?
Well, it has like a cow's. I'm not even gonna say it. It's got the big like longhorns, so that would make it a bull or a steer or what?
Right, you would think.
Yeah.
But it has like the nostril of a cow. It looks like. But I mean, I don't know my livestock very well, so I'm an idiot.
Yes.
This would be wrong at this, like I am at everything else.
Confirm.
Okay. They took on the St. John's.
Johnny's.
Correct.
Yeah.
Good job.
Okay.
Yeah, that was right there.
That's an easy one.
Well, it was an easy game for the Johnnies too, as they knocked off the Scots 70-0.
Okay.
Hey.
The old 70 piece.
Your first down differential was 24-12.
Okay.
Your rushing yard differential, not terribly different, 150-99. Now, granted, the Scots ran for 99 yards on 41 carries.
Tough sled.
Not ideal.
I'd say so.
Not the best.
Not
they
great.
They threw for 76 yards on 7 of 21 passing.
Okay.
That's 3.6
For how many yards?
per if you're keeping up. 76.
76.
Correct. St. John's threw for 480.
There we go. Air raid.
Oh, 480.
That's what happened.
That's a banger.
That puts your total offense differential at 630-75.
That'll do it.
So close.
Was
All
the,
the
third down.
And yet,
Third down.
so far.
Well, the Johnnies kicked off 11 times for 650 yards. The Scots kicked off once.
Okay.
That's where they got him. They could just
Well, if
translate
you
that
kick,
to the
you
rest
have
of the
to.
game.
I've been told you have to kick off at least once in a game.
Mm-hmm.
That is
That usually is a
100%
requirement.
confirmed. Yes. Right. Just make it sure we're all on the
Just one
same
time.
page there.
That's it. You asked for it. You shall receive. Third down conversions for the Scots was 3 of 15. They were 1 of 4 on fourth down. So
See,
4
that's-
of 19 converting.
That's the tail of the
conversion
tape
downs.
right there. Third downs. They
It
just couldn't
was.
convert. They could not convert.
That was the only thing.
That was
Everything
the
else they
only
were good.
thing.
Red zone defense may have been a problem. St. John's 6 of 6 in the red zone. 6 touchdowns.
Yes.
Can't keep him out the end zone, man.
That'll do it.
Not your best there.
Not what
Trey
you're looking
Feeney
for.
passing 13 of 14, 250 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Sounds like Todd Simpson.
He's dialed in.
Now, if you remember, they threw for a lot more than 250 in this game.
Uh-huh.
Xander Dittbinner, 8 of 10 for 168, 3 touchdowns. So that's 2 quarterbacks that both threw for 3 touchdowns in a game. You would have 2 other quarterbacks that would come in and go a combined 4 for 5 in the game. So, 25 of 30 combined with 4 different quarterbacks throwing touchdowns. That's a pretty good day.
I'd say that's not bad.
Not as good as Joey Gendreau. Gendreau. He had 6 catches, 115 yards, 4 touchdowns.
Let's go. JG.
4.
That boy a ball.
4.
Baller.
All right. Now we'll go to our final bad box score of the day. That would be the University of Chicago.
Maroon.
Ooh, I feel like I should know this. Cubs.
It is one of the more unique mascots that we will get.
Cubs.
No, I think they are the Wombats.
They're the Blue Boys.
Ooh.
And they just went down to the Lawrence, or they just took out the Lawrence College.
They're the Lions.
No.
Sisters.
No.
Lions is a good guess.
Appreciate it.
Think divisional rivalry here.
Red Boys.
Girls?
I don't know. Like I've no idea.
That's a good guess. No, it's the Vikings.
Okay.
Chicago took this game 66-0. Now, that's only part of the problem. Here are your last 3 scores for Lawrence football. 66-0, 59-0, 20-0. They lost all 3. Not to be outdone in week 2 where they lost 78-7.
Noticing a trend.
Offense can't get.
That's a trend.
They can't get anything started.
Well, in
They
game
gotta
1
get
they
it
did.
going.
They lost 33-14, so they were on fire in that game.
Fire.
In this game, they were outdone as far as first downs gained. Okay, first downs achieved, first downs converted, 23-1.
That's a lot to a little.
They were 1 of 14.
Okay.
Not great.
Some things we can work on.
The Blue Boys ran for 301 yards.
Okay.
The Vikings
Did
ran
they?
for 36.
Not great.
The Blue Boys passed for 236. The Vikings passed for – now, this is actually an intriguing number here. They were 10 of 17 passing for 41 yards.
Not great on the yards per attempt basis.
Yeah.
Or anything
But
else.
10 of 17 feels decent.
Sounds like a lot of screens.
Good efficiencies. How
I'm
many
gonna
were
guess-
at or behind the line of
I'm going to
scrimmage?
guess it was only screens.
Yeah, just get it out quick.
Your total yardage differential 537 to 77 in the game.
537 to what?
77, 2 sevens next to each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not 8.7 per and 1.8 per play. It's not where you want to live. That's not where things need to be. Punting in the game, Chicago, the Blue Boys did not punt. Lawrence punted 10 times for 330 yards.
There we go.
Now,
Good
Chicago
yardage.
did kick off 11 times for 614 yards.
Okay, never mind.
11 times for how many?
614.
I love that you list the kickoff yardage.
They put it in the box score, Greg. This is bad
what an
box score of the day. We
accomplishment.
read the box scores here. That's what we do. It is an accomplishment.
Why is that in the
okay?
box score is all I want to know.
It's a great question. I have no idea why.
How does that
couldn't tell
determine? Is that the hidden yardage differential?
I guess. 4 players rushed for a touchdown. 4 different players rushed for a touchdown for Chicago. So they had it going on the ground. There you go. That's your bad box score of the day. Appreciate Dan Wetzel, Paul Feinbaum, Tyler Watts joining the show today. If you missed any of it, podcast is at jocksfm.com, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get yours. Go check it out there. Show lives on YouTube as well. You can go back and watch those. Search Jocks945. We're back tomorrow to continue talking all the fallout of the weekend and let you know if any other coaches get fired in the next 24 hours. 3-man front coming to you next, followed by the Paul Feinbaum Show right here on Jocks.